Hi, welcome everyone. We'll wait a few moments. I see people are hopping on. My name is Taylor Wilson. I am of counsel at Steptoe and Johnson, and I am here with my college professor, John Pfeiffer, who is an entertainment and influencer law attorney out in Santa Monica. So we'll get started just a minute.
And then do I have the ability to share screen?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
So almost got about 40 people on with us so far. I apologize, I'm having technical issues and I'm having to do this from my phone because the power in this office building shut down. So if anyone's having any issues hearing me or freezing, just put it in the Q&A box and let us know. Okay, so this is an influencer law CLE. Like I said before, I'm here with my Pepperdine College professor, John Pfeiffer. He taught mass communication law at Pepperdine while I was there. And that was the undergrad course. And he also does visiting professorships at other law schools. He is the owner of Pfeiffer Law Corp, a boutique law firm that handles entertainment law. He was previously a partner with Brian Cave in Santa Monica, and he is originally from Nebraska. He received his JD degree from the University of Denver in 1983, and he's licensed to practice in Colorado, Nebraska, California, and the US Supreme Court. He also is the host of The Creative Influencer, which is a podcast about influencers, entertainment, law, and other issues that have come up recently and are new issues in entertainment law here. So I will hand it off to John Pfeiffer.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen, which let me know if you're seeing the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's always a good sign. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yes, I am an entertainment lawyer in Santa Monica. As was pointed out, I am an adjunct at Pepperdine, which means that if you have any questions, I'm used to taking questions as we go. So let me know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the high level is I'm going to talk about what is an influencer, the team, how they make money, social media and the First Amendment, regulation, and then what I do for them. And hopefully we'll time this so there's Q&A at the end. So what is an influencer? Everybody thinks of Olivia Jade, that vapid USC fake rower that her mom went to prison to get her into USC. And that is why influencers have a general bad name. But really an influencer is somebody that influences. It could be your priest, it could be your pastor, it could be your rabbi, it could be a good friend, which is how influencers grow their following. And when I use that term for purposes of the podcast, we have included politicians. This is Will Hurd, former congressman from Texas. I had Beto on a couple months ago to talk about how he used social media in running his campaigns, because setting politics aside, and that's why I have both a Republican and a Democrat, is that they are influencers. And recently, college students could be influencers, but college cheerleaders could be influencers to make money, but the football players couldn't. So when Zion Williamson was at Duke, he could not sell his name, image, and likeness. When Trevor Lawrence was at Clemson, he made the comment one time, he was walking by a bookstore where his jersey was for sale with his name on it, but he couldn't sell his own jersey, which hardly seems fair. But as of July, back at USC, as of July 1, that changed. The NCAA rescinded their rules on student athletes making money, and football players from any university, USC, UCLA, or Texas can even make money, Baylor, TCU, Texas A&M, all of the student athletes can now make money from the name, image, and likeness, which is a complete change. And there's been some dire predictions and there's been some great predictions, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so influencers are a company. I mean, the ones that are doing this successfully are truly a startup company. I have one client that has, I think, 6 people on her team. So the team generally starts with the manager. The manager is the one that will control the brand deals and the deliverables, what has to be provided when. Generally, the second person on the team is me, the lawyer, and then the third person on the team is the agent. In traditional entertainment situations, only an agent can, and the key word is procure employment. It's different in influencer deals where the manager can go out and do it. But almost all of my clients have both a manager and an agent. Most of them have personal assistants. And some of them have editors. They have, one has a marketing coordinator. So with that team, how do they make money? And let's start with a little bit of history. And bear with me because it's actually interesting history. YouTube was founded not that long ago in the scheme of things, and 3 guys, one of them being Greg Goodfried, who was head of digital at UTA until just recently, came up with Lonely Girl 15. It is a fake character that they had, and at that time there were no fake characters on YouTube. Everything was real. So this was the first fake character.
Hi guys, so this is my first video blog. I've been watching for a while and I really like a lot of you guys on here. I really like pay to the order of 2. You're really funny and your videos are always really interesting. You seem really nice. Then there's the wine cone or just wine cone. I'm not sure. You are totally retarded, but I like it. Well, I guess a video blog is about me. My name is Bree. I'm 16. I don't really want to tell you where I live because you could like stalk me. Yeah. Well, what you need to know about my town is that it's really boring, like really boring. That's probably why I spend so much time on my computer. I'm a dork. I didn't really have a plan for this video blog, but I guess I'll just do this. I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Bye. And so much space.
So Bree was actually a paid actress from New Zealand that she was eventually kidnapped as part of the storyline, and it was followed. They tried to find out if it was real or not. Eventually, she was outed as being an actress, and after it was outed as being scripted, then they decided to monetize it. And you're going to hear Greg Goodfried, who was my first guest on the podcast, describe sitting down with Google to monetize this.
And at this point, had they had monetization yet?
So the first thing we did after coming out publicly was start to do some brand deals. So we did a deal with Hershey's for a gum, like they have this gum called Icebreakers. So we did the first product placement ever, I pretty much think in a YouTube video or certainly in a video blog. Then Neutrogena approached us and they wanted to do a whole big multi-month long campaign because they liked the audience that we had. So we created a character that was a scientist that worked at Neutrogena that had some special serum that can kind of help cure these girls. So he became a recurring character, and he would all the times that Neutrogena, Mr. Neutrogena, and it was perfect and it was goofy. Then the interesting thing happened where YouTube, what was bought by Google right around this time, they reached out to us, realizing we're a lawyer and a doctor and kind of a little more sophisticated, flew us up to San Bruno to YouTube's offices, and they had conference rooms, and we sat in the Lonely Girl 15 conference room with the CEO and founders of YouTube, told them our story, who we were, and they kind of said, what do you need? And we said, money, right?
We need AdSense.
Yeah, we need money, we need AdSense, but they didn't have AdSense.
Right.
So we literally over a conference table kind of sketched out what became the current day YouTube partner program, where we said, listen, we'll continue to keep uploading as many videos as we've been historically making. Give us, some tens of thousands of dollars per month to be able to cover our production costs and sign a year-long contract. And so they did that.
So what you're about to see is the very first sponsored video on YouTube.
So I can really trust. Hey, what is that?
Icebreaker sour scone.
Can I have a piece?
I would love a piece.
I only have 4 left.
What do you mean there's only 3 of us in the car?
Come
I
on.
know, but I.
Come on. We came all the way out here to pick you up. That's exactly right. So besides my mouth right now feels like.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so messed up.
Oh my God.
Whoa, it's sour.
Give us this big buildup and then deliver.
Okay.
So the ads have progressed from that. Now, influencers make money from Google AdSense. So whenever you see those ads, those annoying ads on YouTube before it starts and halfway through a video, like this one for Grammarly, the creator will get about 55% of the ad price. It depends on who's reporting, but somewhere between 51, 52, 53, 54, 55%. Same with these ads. The creator gets a pretty big share of it, which is different than what is on Instagram. Because when you see the ads on Instagram, the creators do not get a dime from them. The only money they make on Instagram is when they have a sponsored post where they've contracted directly with the brand. Instagram has announced as of a few months ago that on Instagram TV, it is going to, again, a non-paid one that the influencer doesn't share, but on Instagram TV, they're going to try to run ads much like they run on YouTube, and the creators will get a share of it. But the vast majority of money that the creators get are from third parties, the so-called brand deals. So I will do for my clients, a really good, busy influencer will do at least a couple brand deals a month. So this is one with Olivia doing, I don't even remember what other, some probiotic. This is Alicia with a cosmetics company. And yes, I'm going to back this up a second. That and that, I'm not going to tell you what they made, but it is way more money than you would think they would make. This is Ashley doing for a clothing company. Sydney for Olay. Yes, that's all they do is they stand there and they hold it, and the brands pay them to do it. Now, they also have brand trips, which I know in COVID, we're still on mask mandates in LA, but I know that we're starting to come out of the pandemic because we have our first brand trip since coronavirus. So a brand trip is where they send a bunch of the influencers to a really nice location, pay first-class tickets to take them there. They have activities designed for a week, and then they pay them to be there. So this did a brand deal for a trip to the castles of Paris, Sydney, Australia, Greece, Tokyo. And then the big one is always Coachella. And if you've been to Coachella, it's a 2-day concert. The first day is generally dominated by influencers taking selfies and taking pictures of themselves. And the second day is where it's music fans, although there's music fans both days, but they will pay them to go to Coachella. And every year, I've done BMW deals where they will pay them to drive a BMW to Coachella while they're paid to go to a music concert. And then they all have, and when I say all, I do mean all, they all have their merch. So this is Alicia's clothing. Sydney has clothing. Olivia has different kind of merch because she has a different niche, but she still has merch. Joy has her own line of merch. And then some of them have actual products that they sell in stores. One of my clients, Karina Garcia, is known as the Queen of Slime, where she has over 6 million followers when she does slime recipes. So she had a slime kit that was in stores. Many of them now have podcasts. This is Alicia and Taryn, Unsolicited Advice. Pretty basic. And yet these podcasts, all of them are sponsored, all of them are revenue generators. Alicia and Ashley just launched their own clothing line. They use their platform to launch their clothing line called Parallel Apparel. And then Karina had her own reality show on YouTube, which was sponsored by a production company, and they ran it for a season. So now, this is full disclosure. What we're going to talk about now is on Instagram. I call them the bikini girls. I do not represent any of these girls. What you've seen so far are my clients, but you'll see these, again, the bikini girls, girls that are posting in bikinis, and you think, why are they doing that? How are they making money? Well, they all have OnlyFans accounts. And if you're not familiar, OnlyFans is a private paywall where you can post, in some instances, it's a lot, how to put it? It's basically softcore porn. Or Patreon, same thing. And then recently, I was looking and there was another bikini girl, and she has her OnlyFans, and then she has an "If You Love Me," which means that if you just want to send her cash, you can just send her cash. And enough people must do it, or she wouldn't do it. So that's another way to make money on the platforms. Okay, social media in the First Amendment, completely shifting gears.
Well, sorry, let me interrupt with a question, John. We've got one while we're still on monetizing. So is the way the influencers are paid different on TikTok? And could you explain the Creators Fund and how that legally works?
Well, the TikTok brand deals as well. There are some with huge followings that are making money just from TikTok. It's rare because it's such a shorter form content. The big money, when I say big money, I have a couple clients that have made 2 million a year for the last 5 years doing this. The big money is on YouTube. It's still the grandfather of it all, if you will. But the TikTok, some of them are sponsored posts, but it tends to be, at least for my clients, where we'll have a YouTube video and then it's got to be supported by an Instagram post or several Instagram posts or an Instagram story and a TikTok video. So it's more, although there is a small segment that are making their living on TikTok, it's more, at least what we're seeing so far, is more of a support because TikTok is such a short form content. I hope that answered it. Okay.
Yeah,
social media.
we actually, sorry, we have one more along that line. And this is one that you and I have talked about before, but do you know of any lawyer influencers? They're successfully both a lawyer and an influencer, or maybe just one or the other?
I know lawyers with followings, but the ones I'm thinking of, I don't know that they do branded content. They do it more just to market their firm. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, I have an Instagram channel, I have all that stuff, but it's more just to market the firm and to market the practice.
And you were telling me offline months ago that really, in order to make enough money on this, you have to have more than 1 million followers, and it's almost another 40-hour-a-week job, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are the so-called micro influencers where you might get a free stay at a hotel, or you might get a free t-shirt. But if you really want to make a job, a living at it, you do need about 1 million followers, because that's about the number of followers it takes to get a good manager. And it's a full-time job. I mean, even though you see these people, standing there with the heart in the sun, and you think, oh, how hard can that be? That is not very hard, except you got to do that on a regular basis, and you have to create content that people would really want to see. Which is why the rise of the bikini girls, because it's so easy. I had a lawyer that I know, her niece was doing that, and she wanted to stop. So the hard part is the internet is like a bad tattoo. Once these digital photos are out there, even if you want to rebrand and get rid of the bikini photos, they're still out there. So the lesson I have for everybody is just be careful what you post, because it's never going away.
I think that's
Okay.
our last question in that section,
Okay.
so we can move on. Thanks.
Cool. First Amendment. Okay, I'm going to give you the 50,000-foot view. So it's not law school, but it's enough to get you by. There is a recent U.S. Supreme Court case, Packingham versus North Carolina. The issue was North Carolina had a law that prohibited sex offenders from being on social media platforms. So we have Packingham, who was convicted of statutory rape. He was 21, and the girl he slept with was 13, which makes him a college junior sleeping with a high school freshman. He was convicted of statutory rape. It's just even creepy even thinking about it. Convicted of statutory rape in North Carolina. That meant he couldn't be on social media. Well, one day after he was convicted of the statutory rape, so when I say social media, they included Facebook, they included LinkedIn, they included Twitter, which is what you would think of. They also included Amazon, because you can leave comments. They included the Washington Post, because you could comment on articles. So one day, Packingham was driving along and he received a speeding ticket. And he shows up to court, and there is divine intervention. He posted, "Man, God is good. How about I got so much favor, they dismissed the ticket before court even started. Thanks, Jesus." Now, I don't know that there really was divine intervention. It was the cop didn't show up, but Packingham went on Facebook and praised the Lord because the cop didn't show. And there was actually a person assigned to the different social media accounts to see if people were on accounts that had been convicted in North Carolina. So he was tried again for the parole violation of being on social media. Case went to the U.S. Supreme Court. Kennedy wrote the opinion. And he said that you cannot prevent access to social media. The government may not prevent access to social media, even for sex offenders, because they are essentially modern day soapboxes that you can't. It would be the government preventing all communication. Well, you could read the slide, but I mean, basically it is, you can't, as the government, prevent somebody from being on social media. But what about free speech on the platforms? So they can't prevent you from being on social media, But social media still regulates what you say. So this is the case of Dennis Prager. He's a conservative talk show host in Los Angeles. He had something called PragerU. Let me get some of the samples of, it was, he had videos that were tagged by YouTube as inappropriate. One of them was titled, "Are 1 in 5 women raped at college? Why isn't communism as hated as Nazism?" So we can debate whether the appropriate topics or not, but YouTube flagged them and made them only available if you logged in. Now, I don't know about you. I never log into YouTube. I just watch the videos. According to statistics, about 1% of people who watch videos on YouTube actually log in. So he filed a lawsuit, went to the Ninth Circuit. Margaret McCowan wrote the opinion, and she said that, no, YouTube is ubiquitous, but it's a private forum, and they can regulate it as they want. So the takeaway is that the government can't keep you off of social media, but the platforms can keep you off of social media. And there is, before the internet, and I'm told this is the Young Lawyers Association, so you probably don't even remember this. You probably had your whole life with the internet. But it used to be on, and this is a construction where they were building a new dorm at Pepperdine's campus. Used to be people would write graffiti on the walls of the toilet. But you couldn't sue the people who owned the toilet for what was written on the wall. You could only sue somebody if they wrote something about you, if you could find out who it was. Just the way it was, the law of defamation. And then along comes the internet.
And I'm gonna teach something relevant, something modern. The internet. The internet is really, really great. So I don't have to wait. Browse all day and night. Like I'm surfing at the speed of light.
That's a clip from Avenue Q, because in the 90s, the internet was for porn. So, to the point where there was this big outcry, like it was cover of Time magazine, cyber porn, we have to do something to protect our children, because it's all about the children, and they passed the Communications Decency Act of 1996. Eventually, the portion of the act that covered porn went to the US Supreme Court, was found to be unconstitutional because it was overbroad. But what was left, the lasting part of that's with us still today, is Communications Decency Act, Section 230. In Section 230, what they did is they used the bathroom toilet example of graffiti for the internet. So if you own a platform and somebody posts content on that platform, they can't sue you. So for instance, that's why Yelp can't be sued for reviews. That's why YouTube can't be sued for videos that are posted by users. Okay, so with that background, recently, the terms of use are what control. So it's why it was the genius of YouTube when they didn't allow nudity, where other platforms did. YouTube took off because parents felt safe about letting their kids on YouTube. Instagram has an anti-nudity policy, which the bikini girls try to get around. But Twitter also has terms of use, which Donald Trump, oh, look too fast. For those of you who don't know who Donald Trump was, he was our president. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek, because this is the tweet that got him kicked off of Twitter. And it seems, compared to some of the stuff he would write on Twitter, this seems all really very tame. But I heard the executive from Twitter being interviewed, and they said that what they interpreted this was he wasn't going to be at the inauguration, so it was okay to attack people at the inauguration. So they kicked him off. Within the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, he filed a lawsuit against all the major tech companies, which, because of Section 230, he will lose. There's only a 1% chance he'll win. But as some of the pundits say, he's already won, because now he started an ad campaign to raise money to fund his lawsuit. And you say to me, John, why do you have this email from Donald Trump? It's because I made the mistake of, when Hillary was running against Trump, I subscribed to both teams' email because I wanted to see what they were saying. And it is impossible to get off of either the Democrats' email or the Republicans' email once they have your email address. But that is the real purpose to his lawsuit, is to raise money. Okay, regulation of advertising on social media. Federal Trade Commission regulates it. So it's all under the FTC Act. Section 5A of the FTC Act talks about you cannot have deceptive advertising, which then the Federal Trade Commission has issued rules. This is the guides concerning use of endorsements and testimonials in advertising. 16 pages, and I'm pretty convinced I'm one of the few people that's ever read. They have different disclosures they put out, the .com disclosures, the pamphlet they put out. They're the FTC endorsement guides, what people are asking. And in every deal I do, there's a section that requires the influencer to comply with all applicable law. And they will give links to these, to both the guide, the .com disclosures, and then what people are asking. Because there's no one place you can go where it's going to tell you everything. They even have, the FTC has a Twitter page, and some of the rules they've announced on their Twitter page. So you have to follow the Twitter page if you want to keep up on what the rules are. They recently did a dumbed down version for influencers, disclosures 101. Basically, it is the cartoon version. But here's, to put it in a nutshell, you have to disclose if there's a connection, if you're being paid, if it's a sponsored post, when the influencer has a material connection with a brand. And then the big fight is, what is a material connection? If a family member has the product that you're posting about, that is a material connection. If you own an ownership interest in the product, that is a material connection. If you've been paid, that is a material connection. If you've gotten something for free, that is a material connection that you should disclose. So here's an example. This is Alicia, one of my clients. If you see at the top, it says paid partnership, which is good, she's disclosed, but there's also rules about hashtags. And the rule is you have to disclose that it's an ad above the more button. So at the very bottom where it says more, and for those of you who are on Instagram, you're familiar with it, you got to click it before you see the rest of the post. Well, in this instance, she put the ad after the more button. It's there, but it doesn't technically comply with the FTC's rules. So it's little things like that that frankly the manager is supposed to catch, but that are in all of the agreements. Okay, so what do I do for them? For many of them, I am dad, but I can't be dad because when I say that, I mean, I have a couple 18-year-olds, a 19-year-old, a 21-year-old client. So I can't go in and talk to them like I would talk to my sons because they're going to just no. I am there to protect them, so that's the hat I put on. It's the role that I tried to get them to realize that that's what I'm doing. Because it's at the end of the day, what they do is they don't have to follow my advice. But that said, I review all their contracts. I have a checklist, I think it's a 5-page checklist of all the items to go through on an influencer contract. Just so I don't forget them. First one is always the money. You know, the whole show me the money. It's like, I can't tell you the number of times there'll be an email confirming the deal terms. And then by the time it gets to the contract, the amount in the email with the deal terms is different from the amount in the contract. And also, when is it paid? They'll try to make it to be 60 days after the last deliverable. And we push back, we want money up front, a percentage of money up front, and then a percent after we invoice. Then the question comes up, what happens if they cancel? What happens if the brand cancels? For some clients, you can get, it's called pay or play when it's with movies. That means that if once they sign the contract, you owe them the full amount, whether you use them in the film or not. It's really hard to get a pay or play deal for an influencer, but many times you can get at least a 50% kill fee, so that if they kill the contract, you can get 50% of the money. And I always push for a pro rata for the amount of work we've done, we get paid for that. Timing. It is, when is the money due? We talked about how long does the contract last? There's the question of exclusivity, because they'll pick a niche. So say, I showed an earlier post with Sydney holding Olay. Most brands will have, in that category, you can't talk about any other similar products, because they don't want another skin lotion being advertised at the same time for a period. Generally, it's a 90-day window, sometimes 30 days, depending on how big the name is. But there's always an exclusivity period. Now, the intellectual property is always the trickiest, because we are doing digital rights deals. So we always have to carve out, the brands always want it. They always want all rights across the world forever. And we always push back that it's only digital rights. Traditional media is not included. Last thing I want to be doing is drive down Sunset Boulevard and see a picture of my client up there. There's the issue of ownership. And I can always tell when a brand is a new brand and they're new to the game, because a savvy brand does not want to own the deliverable. So they don't want to own the post, they don't want to own the video, because if there is a copyright suit down the road, or if there's a trademark suit down the road, or a right of publicity suit by somebody appearing in the video, if they don't own it, they're less likely to have liability. So you can tell a new brand when they want to own the video. But 95% of the time, the influencer continues to own the video. But then we also need licenses back for any of the IP, any of the trademarks that appear in the video. Even though if you're doing a Starbucks video, it's kind of implied that Starbucks is giving you permission to use the name Starbucks in your video, but you still want to make sure it's in the agreement where they give you a license back, a non-exclusive license to use it in the video. The most onerous contract you could ever do is a Google contract. They are typically, what was the longest one? 30 pages. Most of these are about 10-page contracts. Google's contract is about 30 pages. They will do very little negotiation, but they pay the best. Again, I don't want to see my client on Sunset Boulevard on a poster. There is, there's the issue of termination, which we touched upon. You try to get it so that there is that if you're going to terminate, it can only be for cause. And then when it's for cause, the breach you have to have a cure period. Many times you're dealing with transactional lawyers who have not litigated cases and they don't realize the difference between a material breach and a regular breach. But if you're doing a breach of contract case, it's a huge difference in front of the jury. So we push back when we want it to be a material breach, and it has to be an uncured material breach. Now they've started to add, they've always had morals clauses, which means that if you do anything that's going to bring their company into disrepute, fine disrepute, they can cancel the contract. Since Olivia Jade, they've added clauses that if you have done anything in the past, they can also cancel the contract. So if you're involved in a scandal that happened way before the contract, they now can still cancel the contract. Well, that's the language that most brands are putting in. There's always an, I'm just blanking, it's not anti-defamation, it's disparagement. There's always an anti-disparagement clause where the influencer, even though they're paid to say good things about the brand, you can't say bad things about the brand. We try to make those mutual, they push back on that. Then there's the issue of for, because the internet is everywhere. There's always a battle on what law to use. On the international agreements, we still push for California law. The fallback generally is some companies will want Delaware because that's where they're formed. We want California. The compromise is generally New York. And then indemnities, and only a group of lawyers would understand the importance of indemnities, but we try to make them mutual. We try to make them only in the case of material uncured breaches, and especially if you're doing a merch deal, you want indemnification from the manufacturer for any product liability claims, because we're just the poor influencer selling the clothing. If you make it wrong and it's flammable or it doesn't comply with federal standards, we want indemnities back from the manufacturer. And then I would say 95% of all the contracts have confidentiality clauses. Because they don't want the influencer comparing or posting online how much they paid, which would be stupid anyway. But they don't want that so that influencers can't compare notes. But it's so crazy because they do compare notes. If they have agents and managers and lawyers, I know what my other clients are being paid. The managers know what the other clients are being paid. But there is still confidentiality clauses. Okay, I have about 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
We've got some questions that came in on that last section.
Sure.
How do they define scandal, and is that something that you can negotiate?
Well, if you're doing a Disney deal, no, you can't negotiate. I've tried. Because scandal is defined for a Disney deal as very, very, very loosely. I mean, basically, if you were to get caught littering, that would probably be scandal in a Disney deal. It is anything related to drugs, anything related to basically what the brands want is they want somebody that stands out on the one hand, but on the other, they want somebody that's milquetoast. You can't take stands on political issues. You can't by some of the contracts. I don't know if that answers the question. It goes from you can't do anything that anybody would offend anybody to actually getting charged with a felony or accused of, be charged with a felony.
Is there any type of insurance that you would want or would cover any of these contracts?
We have Most of my clients have errors and omissions coverage, and they also have a CGL policy, comprehensive general liability, in case somebody falls while they're making a video. And then the errors and omissions will cover if they get sued for copyright infringement. So far, none of them have been sued. Thank God.
Good.
Yeah. Were there other
Okay.
questions?
Yeah, we've got a few more, but I think we can save some of them for after your next section.
Okay. So I'm gonna give a few predictions. We'll see. So far on these, I give there's a class at USC about influencers. I mean, that's the entire class, and I every year do the influencer law segment. And at the end, I always have my predictions. And some of them I'm spot on, and some of them I'm just wildly wrong. So here we go. So I mean, I have clients or people that want to start a YouTube channel always asking me, what can I do to build a following? And I'm going to tell you, you should be different. There are too many cosmetics videos. There's too many, you know, how to do sit-ups, you get perfect six-pack abs. Find something different. Use your own voice. There's a move toward higher algorithms that find higher quality content. So that would go hand in hand with find your own voice, that the algorithms continually get better. We've seen it, and I think it's going to continue to move to this, is snackable content. When I say snackable, I'm not talking about 5 minutes. I'm talking about a minute or less. So you have YouTube Shorts, which is a rip off of TikTok and Snapchat, but they've launched it. You have Instagram, Instagram TV and stories, TikTok, obviously. And then there is on my podcast, well, we have time for Q&A, but I want to let you know that if you want to get a hold of me, it's pfeifferlaw.com. All the contact information is there. We do have, I am on LinkedIn. I invite you to connect with me there. We do have on the website free downloadable resources about the disclosures, about best practices. You don't have to leave your email to get them. I mean, we have them on all our practice areas, but we have them on social media, which we just updated last week. So it is up to date. These are it's something like this, best practices. I have do's and don'ts for each of the platforms, which brings us to questions.
So do you typically charge a flat fee, retainer, normal billables? How do you normally handle these types of clients?
When I got my first client, I didn't know how much they made. So I thought, oh, this sounds like a fun area. You know, it's so I did a reduced hourly fee. I only made that mistake once. Now they're all 5% of gross. So if they bring in $1, I get a nickel. They bring in $100,000, I get 5,000.
Nice. And then let's say that you're dealing with a Texas company and maybe even a Texas influencer. Is there a reason that you would want to choose? Like with businesses, a lot of times we're looking at wanting to either be domiciled in Wyoming or choosing Delaware law for a certain reason. Is there a reason to choose a specific state law, or would you still go with Texas law in that instance?
I would go with California law because so much of the law, it spills over from the entertainment industry. So we have an established body of law. You know how a court's going to rule. Are they going to uphold a pay or play provision, or are they not going to uphold it? What are they going to do? So that's why we always push for California law. It's one, I know it, and two, it's built out so there's predictability.
Great. Are there any other questions out there? Hold on, I'm checking the chat too. Oh, in the chat, just so everyone knows, the number for today's course is listed in there. So go ahead and check that out. It's 174-130-684. But like I said, it's also posted in the chat. If you have any more questions, put it in the Q&A. And then real quick, I'd like to plug, because this is related to this CLE, I'd like to plug our September CLEs, which are Social Media September. We've got 2 CLEs, one on September 8th at noon and one on September 21st at noon. The first one is Social Media and Litigation. Every past can and will be used against you in a court of law, which I know John just spoke about for canceling contracts. And then September 21st is Cancel Culture at Work, Social Media Issues Affecting Employees and Employers. So while we're waiting, oh, we got another question that just came in. Oh, actually, it's just a bunch of compliments for you, John. No questions. Oh. No, here's one. What's the best way to find influencers as clients?
Well, that is why, get your first one, I mean, it's anything. And then the podcast has been great. So I would just plug the podcast that if you have a practice area that you want to grow, if you start a podcast on it, just one, establishing your credibility that you have that area of expertise, but then two, inviting guests on. I can't tell you how many guests I've invited on who turned out to be my clients. Because it's like everything else, it's referral too. I mean, there's so many of them based in LA that they just kind of seem to know each other. They do these collabs. So, I mean, the way you would get any other client, I mean, you just have to think, be where they are.
And we've got another one. Our clients, and usually they're younger than you, are they hard to manage or difficult clients because of that age difference?
I lean on the managers a lot. By the time they get ready to hire me, they expect I'm going to be a big, scary lawyer. So if I come in as a real person, they're like, oh, thank God. So that hasn't been much of a problem. I did have, I have one client that, well, I have several clients that do Vlogmas. So every day leading up to Christmas during the month of December, they do a video blog. And I had one of them wanted to hire 6 TikTok boys to pull her Aston Martin down Ventura Boulevard with a rope to her poster or a billboard. She had a big billboard. I did the research into we would have had to shut down Ventura Boulevard. You would have had to hire a private security to do that. It was going to be about $100,000 per hour. So I was able to talk her out of that.
Yeah, that sounds a little expensive. We've got another question that just came in. What are the legal implications for an influencer who has a significant bot or fake user following, if any, and can brands determine if influencer followers are fake users or bots?
Two-part. First, yes, the contracts, most of them have provisions in them that you may not have fake followers. You rep and warrant that they're real followers. And the brands will check because you can tell by engagement. If it's a bot follower, there will be very few comments, there'll be very few likes. And knock on wood, so far I've not had that be an issue on any of my clients, but they do look. And that's one of the things they look at generally before they ever retain you, is does it look like these followers are real?
Did you have, and do you recommend hands-on experience with each social media platform as their attorney?
I mean, I'm a big consumer of Instagram. I don't do a lot of posting on Instagram. I'm a big consumer of TikTok. I've never posted a TikTok video. I consume Snapchat. I've not posted. You should just use them enough that you understand when they're talking about different deliverables, what that even is. I mean, like Instagram, most of the videos have to be supported by a certain number of static posts plus a story. And if you weren't on Instagram, you wouldn't know what a static post is versus a story versus We've never had them require IGTV, but so you just have to be familiar enough that you know what brands are asking for.
Have you had any, and this isn't a question that came in, just one that I was thinking about because recently you've seen some crossover. Have you had any clients that have crossed over from being just an influencer to actually acting or being in entertainment or having, SAG credentials?
I'm glad you brought up SAG, because I want to talk about that in a second. I have had a couple try. And there have been movies made with influencers thinking that the influencers following would be enough to support the movie. So far, that's not been the case. Because they're used to, you look at the typical YouTube video, there's a lot of jump cuts, there's not a lot of continuity, and a good actor or actress has to have that ability to have the continuity that you don't see so much from the influencer. And as the SAG made a real push about 3 or 4 months ago to get influencers as clients. But I tell all my clients, do not sign up with SAG. There's no benefit for you of an influencer. They're not going to protect you on the set, because there's no set, it's your own set. And most of the major brands require you to rep and warrant that you are not a member of a guild. So like, for instance, the Google agreements, there's, oh gosh, 2 or 3 paragraphs on you can't be a member of a guild if you want to be in a contract with us. So I think SAG just missed the boat. They should have hit it about 5 years ago.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
No.
I think that's pretty typical of unions in general. But I don't see any new comments coming in, other than, once again, more people saying this was fantastic and thank you for your presentation. And so, of course, we as the DOIL thank you for your time. And I personally just thank you for remembering someone that was in your class more than 10 years ago, because it's been probably 14 years at this point.
It was a while.
It was. Probably shouldn't say I'm aging out of DOL, but I really appreciate your time and your willingness to help young attorneys. Obviously, you've been not just here, but in your personal practice and what you do, you're always helping young attorneys. So I just appreciate that aspect of your personality and your life.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to help.
So thank you. And once again, everyone, this is John Pfeiffer, and you can find him at pfeifferlaw.com. And he's out there with those guides that he pointed out to help you if you want to start representing influencers here in Texas.
Yeah, it's all free.
Great.
So, okay.
Oh, we got one more. Sorry, one more came in. What
Sure.
is the interplay of independent contractor rules in California and how influencers contract works? Sorry, last one.
They all rep and warrant that they're not employees, that they're independent contractors, that they're not entitled to any benefits, that they're not entitled to anything you would get as an employee, not entitled to health insurance, not entitled to have taxes withheld. They want them 100% independent contractors, and frankly, they are real independent contractors, as opposed to the ones you try to characterize as independent contractors when they're not. Because other than we want you to create a video or we want you to do a post, we want you to talk about our brand, they are 100% in control of what they do. So they're all independent contractors.
Great. On that note,
okay,
I guess we'll all get back to billing our hours since we're not independent contractors. And we live by the 6 minutes every hour. So thank you again. And everyone check out the podcast, The Creative Influencer.
Take care. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.